What's going on, guys? Chris here with Forge Through Faith, and today is going to be our first Technique Tuesday video. Okay, so kind of what I want to address in these videos is obviously techniques of certain movements, but I want to take it a step further as well to address things like how maybe you approach this movement in a Metcon format, or when you're doing certain accessory exercises. What are we targeting? Everyone does pure technique. I want to give you kind of an integrated look at why we do everything. Okay, so that's why today's first video is why movement selection does not necessarily dictate muscle activation. Okay, so a lot of people will say, you know, all right, I want my athlete to be able to use their glutes or get stronger hamstrings or whatever the case may be, so they'll select an exercise. However, without video to watch what the athlete is doing, or you being there in person to ask the athlete, what did you feel when you did this? You're not necessarily getting the exact response, or you can't ensure that you're getting the exact response, okay? So what the heck do I mean by that? I'm gonna use a couple different movements just to provide examples. First one I'm gonna use is the squat, okay? So everyone has done an air squat before, or a back squat. You know, the standard feet shoulder width apart, knees out, chest up. I squat down and I stand up, okay? However, based on this movement, some people will get, you know, more activation in their quads than they do in their posterior chain. So for example, if I squat down, this might be tough to see, but I'll explain what's going on. I squat down and I kind of shift my weight forward. So my heels are technically on the ground, but my weight isn't really in my heels. All that stress is going through the quads. Now, obviously my hamstrings have to do some work here, but if I sit here, the burning I feel right now is in my quads. And as I stand up, that's the movement that's getting the work, okay? So for folks who are maybe doing a lot of squats and they're complaining of that like patellar tendonitis, a little pain in the knee, nothing serious, but like a little bit of an overuse, is because they're using all of their quads as opposed to sitting into their butt, for lack of a better term, or in their heels, pushing those knees out. Now here I feel my glutes working way more, and then as I force my heels into the ground as I stand, I can use that chunk of muscle, okay? So yes, I'm still using my quads, my hamstrings, but based on how I do that movement, it dictates what muscles are maybe doing the bulk of the work there, okay? Another accessory exercise that I mix into a lot of my athletes' programs, especially in warm-ups, for folks who need glute activation, is maybe a single leg glute bridge. Super easy. I lay on my back, I pick one leg up, I drive my foot through the floor, squeeze my butt at the top, come back down. Seems really self-explanatory, guys. Like, obviously I'm gonna be using my glute there. Problem is, again, if I'm driving up and all the weight is going through my toe, my heel is on the ground, but I'm driving more through my toe, I'm not activating my glute as much as if I'm driving through my heel, okay? Same thing, I need to squeeze in my rib cage, or I'm sorry, my abs, pull my rib cage down, and now my hip extension's a little more limited, but I get maximum activation in my glutes. Like, I already feel this squeezing really hard, okay? So you'll even notice I kind of pull my toe off the floor. So although the exercise is geared towards glute activation, maybe warming it up or building strength in that muscle, based on how I'm doing it can really dictate the exact dose response that I'm looking for, okay? So what do we get from all this, guys? Basically, guys, as coaches, as coaches of you guys, what you're gonna see is I'm gonna ask, send me video of this. You should feel X, Y, and Z, because just a blanket prescription is not necessarily gonna dictate what the dose response is gonna be, okay? So if you're mixing in accessory exercises in your program, A, make sure there's a purpose behind it, and B, make sure you're getting the response you're trying to get from it. All right, guys? So mix that stuff in and really focus on what muscles are working.